October 10, 1943, 20,000 feet above northern Germany. Second Lieutenant Danny Mercer tastes blood inside his oxygen mask. The world outside the plexiglass nose of the B-17F. Lucky Bell is a frozen white desert of cloud and vapor trails. The bomber formation stretches for miles silver, fortresses glinting in the thin sun, contrails slicing the sky in perfect geometry. Below them, hidden by haze, Bremen waits. Danny is 22, a former Kansas farm boy turned bombardier. His gloved fingers rest on the Norden bomb sight. The metal beneath his palms vibrates with the steady thunder of four Wright Cyclone engines. The ship smells of all heated metal and fear. Flak at 2 o'clock. Someone shouts over the interphone. Black bursts blossom in the sky. German 88mm shells punch through the formation with mechanical precision. The explosions are dull at this altitude, sound swallowed by thin air, but the fortress shudders with each near miss. Shards of steel whistle past like angry hornets. Pilot Captain Ray Holloway keeps his voice calm. Hold formation, tight and steady. They are deep inside the Reich now. Luftwaffe fighters rise to meet them, dark specks climbing fast through the flak. Danny squints through the nose glass. Messerschmitt Bf-109s, Focke-Wulf 190s. Lean, fast, purposeful. The first attack comes head-on. Tracers streak toward them, thin red lines tearing through cloud. The nose guns shatter. Danny feels the vibration of twin .50 caliber Brownings beside him as he fires blindly into the oncoming shape. A German fighter flashes past so close he sees the pilot's goggles. Then the sky explodes. A fortress to their left takes a direct flak hit. The wing shears off in a blossom of orange flame. For a split second, the burning aircraft hangs suspended, then spirals downward, trailing smoke and men. Danny forces himself back to the bomb site. Bomb run in 30 seconds, Holloway says. Another burst rocks them. The Lucky Bell lurches violently. Danny slams against the nose frame. Something metallic screams behind him. Two's hit. The tail gunner yells. Number 2 engine smoking. The right inboard engine coughs, flames licking back along the wing. The formation tightens despite the chaos. They cannot break. Alone, they will die. Danny peers forward again and freezes. Directly ahead, barely 50 yards away, another B-17 drifts out of position, crippled and slowing. Its vertical stabilizer is shredded. Its left wing trails smoke. They are closing too fast. Ray? Danny shouts. There is no time to maneuver. The sky disappears in silver and fire as the two fortresses collide. Metal tears. Glass shatters. The world becomes screaming wind and flame. And the two bombers lock together at 20,000 feet. The impact does not feel real. It feels slow. Lieutenant Danny Mercer hangs in his harness as the nose of the Lucky Bell grinds into the belly of the other B-17. Aluminum shrieks against aluminum. Propellers bend like wet tin. The world becomes a storm of splintered plexiglass and flying rivets. Then comes the silence. Not true silence. Engines still howl. Wind still tears through the ruptured fuselage, but inside Danny's head everything dulls. The two aircraft are no longer separate machines. They are fused, twisted together in midair like broken birds. Ray, answer me. Danny shouts into the interphone. Static. The other bomber's tail is gone. Its midsection is crushed against their top turret. One of its engines spins freely, propeller warped, biting uselessly at thin air. Fire licks along torn fabric control surfaces. They should already be fallen, but somehow, impossibly, the combined wreckage still flies. The Lucky Bell's remaining engines strain, screaming at full power. The crippled bomber beneath them drags like an anchor. Their speed bleeds away. Danny looks down through the fractured nose glass. He can see inside the other aircraft. He sees movement. A man, another bombardier, stares back at him from barely 15 feet away. His face is pale beneath a leather flight helmet. His oxygen mask dangles uselessly around his neck. For a frozen second, the two Americans lock eyes across the jagged metal seam where their planes have become one. The other man raises a trembling hand. Then a German fighter dives. The Messerschmitt approaches from above, its nose cannon flashing. Tracers rip through both bombers at once. Bullets punch through skin and flesh and wiring indiscriminately. The locked aircraft shudder violently. Return fire? Someone screams. Danny swings his nose guns upward and squeezes the triggers. The .50 cows hammer, their recoil rattling his bones. He sees flashes strike the fighter's wing root. The Messerschmitt veers away, trailing smoke. But more are coming. The formation has moved on. The sky that was once crowded with protective fortresses is now empty around them. They are alone to broken bombers fused together, hanging in the Reich sky. Below, the clouds thin. Danny glimpses patchwork farmland and dark forests far beneath. 20,000 feet is a long way down. The right wing jerks violently. One of the crippled bomber's engines tears loose completely, spinning away in a flash of fire. The sudden shift in weight tilts both aircraft sharply left. Danny feels gravity change. They begin to roll. Inside the other bomber, he sees men scrambling toward the waste hatch. One jumps. The parachute blossoms instantly in the thin air. Small white flower beneath to dying giants. Bail out. A voice finally crackles through the interphone. It might be Holloway. It might be someone else. Danny looks at the twisted wreckage trapping the nose hatch. There is no clear way out, and the roll is becoming a spiral. The spiral tightens. Danny feels the horizon tilt until sky and earth trade places. The two bombers, welded by violence, begin a slow, grinding roll toward the clouds below. The centrifugal force pins him sideways in his harness. Broken glass drifts through the nose compartment like ice. "Ray, we're rolling," Danny shouts, though he knows the pilot can feel it. For a heartbeat, the engines surge. The lucky bells to remaining outboard engines are still pulling, straining against the dead weight of the shattered bomber beneath them. The sound is animal metal pushed beyond mercy. Then something shifts. The crippled aircraft slides. The nose of the other B-17 drops a few feet lower, scraping along their belly like a hooked fish. Torn aluminum peels away in long, fluttering ribbons. Danny sees daylight through a jagged seam where the other bombardier had been staring moments before. That man is gone. He must have jumped. The roll slows. They are no longer climbing. They are descending fast, but not yet tumbling. Somehow, impossibly, the wreckage has found a grotesque balance. Feather number 2, kill it. Holloway's voice crackles through the interphone at last, strained but alive. The burning inboard engine sputters and dies. The propeller windmills uselessly before freezing at an angle. The vibration eases slightly. Danny dares to breathe. Below, the clouds break open, revealing the German countryside in terrifying clarity. Small villages, narrow roads, fields divided like a checkerboard. He can even see a river cutting through trees like a silver wire. They are at 17,000 feet now. Inside the other bomber, he sees movement again. Two waist gunners struggle toward an exit hatch. One man is wounded, blood staining the sheepskin collar of his aide jacket. The other half drags him forward. The combined aircraft lurch again. A loud metallic crack splits the air. The tail section of the lower B-17 finally gives way. It tears free entirely, spinning off into empty sky. For a split second, the sudden loss of weight makes the diffused bombers leap upward, like a released spring. Then gravity reclaims them. The descent steepens. "Danny," Holloway says quietly now, no panic in his voice. "We might be able to ride her down." Ride her down. No one trains for this. There is no manual for flying. Two mortally wounded bombers locked together over enemy territory. The Germans on the ground must be watching. Danny imagines flak crews and civilians staring upward at the unbelievable shape descending from the clouds, a twin-bodied monster stitched from fire and aluminum. Altitude, 14,000 feet. The air grows thicker. The controls respond barely. "Stay in it," Holloway says. Danny grips the edge of the bombsight table and looks down at Germany rushing closer. If they can keep it steady, they might survive the fall. But something in the wing root is bending, and metal only bends so far. 12,000 feet. The air is thicker now. The controls answer but sluggishly, like moving through mud. Danny braces himself against the shattered nose frame. As the fused wreck groans around him, every vibration feels like a warning. The wind screams through torn aluminum, turning loose maps and insulation into whipping ghosts. "Easy, easy," Captain Holloway murmurs, as if calming a wounded horse. The control yoke must feel wrong in his hands. The lucky bell is no longer symmetrical. The dead weight of the other B-17 hangs beneath them at an angle, its fuselage crushed into their belly. One wing droops lower than the other, warped by impact. They are not flying. They are falling with intention. Danny looks down again. The fields are no longer abstract patterns. He can see roads. He can see trees bending in the wind. A small town sits directly ahead, red rooftops. A church steeple, smoke rising from chimneys. If they lose control now, they will plow straight into it. "Turn her," Danny says quietly. There's a pause. The yoke shifts. The combined mass resists, then grudgingly responds. The nose inches left. The entire structure shudders violently. From below, a sheet of flame bursts from the lower bomber's ruptured fuel tank. The fire trails backward, licking toward their own bomb bay. Fire spreading. Someone shouts from the waist. Altitude, 9,000 feet. The other aircraft's fuselage begins to peel open under aerodynamic stress. Panels rip free and spin away. Danny sees the remains of its radio room exposed to open air. Then he sees something else. A man, inside the lower bomber, tangled in wiring near the midsection. A crewman is still alive. The man's oxygen mask is gone. His face is streaked with blood. He is conscious barely. His eyes lock onto Danny through the torn seam between the aircraft. At this altitude, there is time to jump. But he is trapped. Danny feels a pressure in his chest that has nothing to do with oxygen. "We can't save him," Holloway says quietly, as if reading his thoughts. The fire spreads faster. 8,000 feet. The town is off their nose now. Ahead lies open farmland, harvested fields, darker soil freshly turned. If they can hold it together just a little longer. A loud crack detonates through the fuselage. The lower bomber shifts violently again, tearing further loose from their belly. The left wing of the Lucky Bell dips hard. The trapped crewman disappears in a sudden bloom of flame. Danny flinches, but he does not look away. "Prepare to crash," Holloway orders. The ground is rising fast. They have one chance to guide this falling wreck away from civilians and into empty earth. The wing root bends again, and something finally gives. The left wing snaps with a sound like a cannon shot. Danny feels it before he hears it, a violent lurch that rips the horizon sideways. The fused wreck drops hard to port. The remaining structure twists, shrieking as spars tear through aluminum skin. Hold it, Holloway roars. But physics has made its decision. The lower bomber finally breaks free. For one suspended heartbeat, the two aircraft separate in midair like dying animals parting ways. The shattered B-17 beneath them falls first, rolling slowly, fire pouring from its ruptured tanks. It turns nose down and disappears toward the fields below. Danny barely has time to register it. The Lucky Bell, suddenly lighter but fatally wounded, snaps upright, then pitches forward into a steep dive. 6,000 feet. The control column must feel loose in Holloway's hands. The aircraft vibrates violently. With one wing compromised and two engines gone, they are no longer gliding. They are dropping. Flaps, flaps. Someone shouts. Hydraulics whine. The flaps deploy unevenly, adding drag. The nose rises slightly. The dive shallows just enough to suggest a landing might be possible. Below, a wide plowed field stretches ahead, dark soil. No buildings, no civilians. It is the only mercy in sight. Gears gone. The co-pilot reports. "We're belly landing." Danny unclips his harness but stays in place, bracing himself against the metal frame. His hands tremble. He forces them still. He thinks of Kansas fields in autumn, the smell of dirt, the flat horizon. He never imagined he would see farmland like this from the wrong side of war. 4,000 feet. The bomber shudders again. Fire begins creeping back along the wing route from ruptured lines. Smoke fills the fuselage, thick and oily. "Brace," Holloway orders. Danny wedges himself low, arms wrapped around the metal strut. His oxygen mask dangles uselessly now. The world smells of smoke and scorched wiring. 2,000 feet. The ground is rushing up, terrifying in its clarity. He sees furrows in the earth. He sees a narrow dirt road cutting across the field. For a moment, there is strange calm. No fighters, no flak, just gravity. 500 feet. The engines scream one final time. Then the Lucky Bell slams into German soil. The impact is beyond sound. Metal folds like paper. The nose collapses inward. Danny is thrown forward as dirt and fire explode around him. The bomber skids across the field in a storm of soil and smoke, carving a scar through the earth. Everything stops. Silence falls heavy and absolute. Danny blinks. He is alive. But outside the shattered fuselage, he hears something new. Voices. German voices. And they are coming closer. The nights are the hardest. Wind moves through the wire with a hollow whistle. The barracks creak as temperatures drop. Men shift on thin mattresses, coughing, muttering in their sleep. Danny lies awake, staring at the dark beams above him. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees it again, the silver nose of the other B-17 drifting toward him. Impossibly close, the instant before impact. The man staring back through shattered glass. Across the aisle, someone whispers a prayer. Above him, Holloway shifts on the bunk and speaks quietly into the darkness. "You did good today, Danny." It is the first time either of them has said it out loud. "We were lucky," Danny answers. Holloway exhales softly. Luck runs out. Outside, boots crunch on gravel. A searchlight beam slides across the window, then moves on. Morning comes gray and sharp. They are marched into the yard for roll call. Hundreds of Allied airmen stand in ordered rows. Americans, British, a few Canadians, faces pale in the cold. At the fence line, a cluster of German guards watches them. One of them, the same young private from the truck, keeps looking at Danny with open curiosity. Eventually he approaches during work detail. "You, famous here," the guard says quietly in English. Danny frowns. Famous. The guard nods. 2 planes. Like. Glued. He makes a clumsy gesture with his hands. My captain say impossible. But I saw smoke. I saw both fall. Danny studies the young soldier's face. He is no older than 20. War's full of impossible things, Danny says. The guard hesitates. Then, almost shyly, you were afraid. Danny considers lying. Yes, he says. The guard nods slowly, as if that answer settles something inside him. Later that afternoon, word spreads through the camp. Red Cross parcels may arrive next week. Rumors of Allied advances circulate in whispers. Hope moves carefully, like contraband. As the sun sets, Danny stands near the fence, looking west. Somewhere beyond that horizon, American bombers are still flying, still forming up in tight silver boxes, still pushing through flak. He wonders if anyone up there talks about the two B-17s that locked together and fell. He rests his hand against the cold wire. They tried to break each other in the sky. Instead, they survived together. Behind him, the camp settles into evening silence. Above, contrails faintly streak the fading light, distant, high, relentless. The war continues, and so does he. Winter settles over Stalag Luft like a slow tightening fist. Frost creeps along the inside of the barracks walls each morning. Breath hangs in the air. Blankets grow thinner by the day. Danny stands in formation during roll call, boots stiff with cold, stomach hollow. Snow crunches underfoot. The guards pace with rifles slung and collars turned up. After roll call, a name is called. Mercer, Daniel. 2 guards step forward. The yard goes quiet. Holloway catches Danny's eye. A slight nod. Be careful. Danny is escorted across the compound to the administrative building. Smoke curls from its chimney. Warmth waits inside, but warmth in a place like this always comes with a price. The same Luftwaffe intelligence officer sits behind the desk. Impeccable uniform. Calm expression. You are adjusting? He asks politely. Danny remains standing. Name, rank, serial number. The officer smiles faintly. Yes. Very good. He slides a photograph across the desk. It shows the B-17s locked together in midair, taken from the ground. A blurred but unmistakable shape against the clouds. You see, the officer says, my superiors are fascinated. They wish to understand how American pilots think, how they train, how they respond. Danny says nothing. The officer folds his hands. We are preparing a statement for newspapers. It will say your aircraft collided due to poor American discipline, that your formation was chaotic. He leans forward slightly. Or, he continues softly, it may say that German flak forced you together, that our defenses are superior. It depends on cooperation. The room is very quiet. Danny studies the photograph. The image feels unreal. 2 machines fused in the sky, proof of chaos and survival at once. You want me to sign something? Danny says. The officer nods. A simple account. Nothing dishonorable. Danny feels the cold in his bones again, even in the warm office. He thinks of the man trapped in the burning fuselage, of the crew who jumped, of Holloway guiding the wreck away from the town. It wasn't discipline, Danny says quietly. It was war. The officer's smile fades slightly. You understand, he says evenly, that privileges in this camp can improve, or decline. Danny meets his eyes. Name, rank, serial number. Silence stretches. Finally, the officer gathers the photograph and slides it back into a folder. You Americans, he says calmly, always stubborn. Danny is escorted back into the cold. Snow is falling now, fine and steady. As he crosses the yard, the young German guard from before watches him carefully. Their eyes meet briefly. There is no hatred there, only the shared knowledge that both of them are caught inside something far larger than a collision at 20,000 feet. Behind the wire, the wind rises, and winter is just beginning. The snow does not stop. By January 1944, Stalag Luft is buried under white silence. The barracks sag under frost. Breath turns to crystals in the morning air. Men move slower now, not from weakness alone, but from waiting. Waiting for news, waiting for mail, waiting for something to break. Danny sits at a rough wooden table inside Barrack 4, carving a chess piece from scrap Red Cross crate wood. Across from him, a British flight lieutenant studies a hand-drawn map scratched faintly into the underside of the table. Not a full map, just fragments, rail lines, a river bend, guard rotations marked by memory. Escape is never discussed openly. It is breath between sentences. Holloway lowers himself onto the bench beside Danny. Tunnels reach the outer latrine, he murmurs, barely moving his lips. Danny nods once. Under the barracks floor, beneath carefully replaced boards, men have been digging for weeks. Dirt hidden in trousers, scattered in gardens, shaken from pockets during exercise. Slow work, dangerous work. Every man knows the cost of discovery. That afternoon, a siren sounds. Not an air raid. A search. Rouse, rouse. Guards flood the compound. Boots hammer against frozen ground. Dogs bark sharply. Inside barrack 4, men move with rehearsed precision. Loose boards slide back into place. Tools vanish into hollowed bedposts. Faces shift from tension to blank boredom. The door bursts open. German guards spill inside, rifles ready. The young private, the one who once asked if Danny was afraid, stands among them now, jaw tight. Outside, a sergeant barks. They line up in the snow while guards tear the barracks apart. Mattresses are slashed. Floorboards pried loose. Snow drifts silently around them. Danny keeps his face still. Minutes stretch into an hour. Then, a shout from inside. A guard emerges holding a tin spoon sharpened at the edge. The sergeant's eyes narrow. More boards are ripped up. And then the sound none of them want to hear. Hollow wood collapsing. The tunnel entrance is exposed. A long silence follows, broken only by wind. 10 men are pulled from the barracks and separated. Danny is not among them. Holloway is. Their eyes meet briefly as guards bind Holloway's hands. Don't, Holloway says softly to Danny. Just one word. Danny says nothing. The captured men are marched away toward solitary confinement cold cells. Reduced rations, interrogation. The rest of the camp stands in frozen stillness. The young German guard passes close to Danny as they are dismissed. Quietly, without looking at him, the guard whispers, "You should stop." Danny watches Holloway disappear behind a concrete building. Stop digging. Stop resisting. Stop hoping. Snow continues to fall, but beneath the frozen ground of Stalag Luft, empty earth remains where the tunnel once ran, and earth can always be moved again. Solitary changes a man. Danny learns that in silence. They take him 3 days after the tunnel is discovered. No warning, no explanation. A guard appears at barrack 4 before dawn. Mercer. Danny rises without looking at Holloway's empty bunk. The captain has not returned from confinement. The concrete cell smells of damp stone and old breath. No window, just a narrow slit near the ceiling that leaks gray light during the day. A wooden plank for a bed. A bucket. The door shuts. For the first time since the collision, Danny is alone with nothing but memory. He counts seconds to measure time. He replays the descent in his mind, not the crash, but the moment before impact. The impossible balance. The other bombardier's eyes. Days pass, or maybe hours. A slot opens in the door. Thin soup slides through. No words exchanged. On the 4th morning he thinks it is the 4th, the door opens again. He is marched back to the administrative building. The Luftwaffe intelligence officer waits. "You Americans dig well," the officer says evenly. Danny says nothing. "You are not caught in the tunnel," the officer continues, "but you are respected here. Men follow you." That surprises Danny. The officer places a folded paper on the desk. "A written appeal," he says. "Encourage calm. No more escape attempts. In exchange, solitary for your captain ends." Danny's chest tightens. "Holloway." The officer studies his reaction carefully. "Sign it," he says softly. "Tell them to behave. You will be treated well. Your captain returns to barracks. It is not torture. It is leverage." Danny looks at the paper. The words are simple: order, compliance, stability. He imagines reading it aloud in the yard, telling the men to stop digging, stop risking punishment. He thinks of 20,000 feet, of refusing to sign a lie about the collision. He lifts his eyes. "Name," he says quietly. "Rank. Serial number." The officer's jaw tightens for the first time. "You think stubbornness wins wars?" he asks. Danny holds his gaze. "No," he says, "but it keeps you from losing yourself." Silence fills the room. Finally, the officer gathers the paper without another word. Danny is escorted back outside. That evening, Holloway returns to barrack 4. Thinner, pale, but walking. No speech is needed between them. Across the compound, the young German guard watches from the tower, snow blowing across his coat collar. The tunnel is gone. The message was refused. And somewhere beyond the wire, Allied bombers pass overhead again, distant, relentless. War continues above them. Resistance continues below. The sky above Stalag Luft turns violent. It begins with a distant vibration, familiar, unmistakable. Hundreds of engines, far beyond the wire. Men in the yard stop mid-step, heads tilt upward. Bombers, not one formation. Many. Contrails lace the winter sky like white scars. Then the sirens begin. German guards shout orders. Searchlights shut down. Anti-aircraft batteries outside the camp open fire. Black bursts staining the clouds. The sound rolls across the frozen compound like distant thunder. Danny stands near the fence, eyes locked upward. Even from this distance, he knows the formation shape. Boxed, tight, disciplined. B-17s, maybe B-24s mixed in. American. The ground trembles faintly as bombs begin to fall somewhere beyond the horizon. Not on the camp. On factories, rail yards, all depots. On the machine that built this wire. A sudden explosion cracks much closer than expected. The men instinctively flinch. Flak falls short. A shell detonates midair, and fragments rain down over the outskirts of the camp. A piece of shrapnel punches into the guard tower nearest Barrack 4. The young German guard, now familiar, no longer just a silhouette, loses his footing. The wooden platform splinters beneath him. He falls hard. The yard freezes. For a moment, no one moves. Then instinct overrides nationality. Danny runs. A guard shouts, raising his rifle. Another hesitates. The fallen soldier lies twisted at the base of the tower. Helmet thrown clear, leg bent at an unnatural angle. Blood stains the snow beneath his shoulder. Danny drops to his knees beside him. The young guard's eyes flicker open, shock, pain, confusion. You. Again, the guard mutters weakly. Danny presses his gloved hands against the wound at the man's shoulder, trying to slow the bleeding. He tears a strip from his own undershirt to bind it tight. More guards arrive, weapons ready, but they do not fire. The bombers continue overhead, distant thunder rolling westward. You should let me, the guard whispers through clenched teeth. Danny shakes his head. No. The irony hangs heavy in the cold air. High above, American crews drop their loads. Flak bursts chase them across the sky. Somewhere up there, another bombardier peers through a northern sight just as Danny once did. Below, an American prisoner holds pressure on a German soldier's wound. War is simple at altitude. On the ground, it becomes human. Medics arrive. The guard is lifted onto a stretcher. As they carry him away, his eyes stay fixed on Danny. Not as an enemy, as a witness. The sirens fade. The sky clears slowly. The bombers disappear westward. Danny stands in the snow, hands stained red, heart steady. Behind the wire, still alive, and still himself.